What is up, guys? For this video we're going to be tearing down the front end of the truck and then taking apart some of the interior and then removing all of the wiring stuff from here, and I'm going to be beginning this process of pretty much gutting the interior, removing all of the heater and AC stuff and getting the wiring pulled out so I can go through it all, remove a bunch of stuff I don't need anymore, and relocate a lot of things so it looks a lot cleaner. So I've ran into a couple of issues, and this is kind of what has resulted in me tearing down the front ends. The first thing was I wanted to even out this gap between the cab and the bed, and I actually got it evened out. It needs just a tiny bit more tweaking, and I fixed it by spacing the front end of the cab up, and that corrected it. It's had the uneven gap issue ever since I redid the body mount brackets, and I'm pretty sure the reason is because the front body mount brackets are sitting a little bit lower than they should when I welded them on. And the reason that happened was because of the front body mounts being completely collapsed, but when they're collapsed they end up like still pinching themselves down. It's kind of hard to explain, but there's a bushing that goes in the bottom of the body mount and a bushing that goes into the top, and when the top one collapses the bottom one just kind of sucks it down further. When I had the cab jacked up and was moving things around to do the new body mount brackets last year, I didn't really consider that these front ones were collapsed, which they obviously are, but it just wasn't something that I thought about. And because of that, the brackets ended up sitting a little bit lower. That's okay because I can just space it back up and that takes care of it, so it's not the end of the world there. But it does mean that I have to replace these body mounts. I have body mounts on the way. A friend of mine actually ordered me a set of body mounts because I was running into an issue where obviously I don't need a full set of body mounts because I only have two on the truck. The back of the cab is solid mounted, and I was trying to find a way to order just the two front ones because I didn't want to spend $80 on the complete set when I only need a third of it. And I was talking to a friend, my friend Kyler, about it. He ended up just ordering me the whole set, so thank you to him. He has a YouTube channel called 30 Foot Garage. I will have a link in the description to it. You guys should go subscribe to him and comment on his most recent video. Tell him that I sent you over because he definitely helped me out quite a bit. Also going to be ordering new fenders because I'm not going to tear this whole thing apart and throw these old rusty fenders back on, so I will be getting a pair of brand new fenders on the way as well. I guess I'll just begin by getting the front bumper off, and then I'll probably get the two fenders out of here after that, and then we'll go and try freeing up that core support, and I got to get the headlights off of that as well because I don't want to bust them. So I guess we'll just get working on all that. Alright, we got the bumper and the fenders off. These fenders will not be returning. They are rusty, beat up, and they're just junk. I don't want them anymore. Bumper will stay though, and I still have the upper core support on here, and I wanted to show you guys something. So if you have a Dodge Dakota, and this is an issue even if you don't live in like a salt state, this is caused by dirt and moisture gathering between the fenders and the cab. But if you look right there, there's a nice big old rust hole right there. The other side has the same thing but not as bad. So if you have one of these trucks, they're old enough now, like I said, even if you don't live in a salt state, there's going to be a lot of dirt and crap in there, and it's going to hold moisture, and it could potentially cause your truck to rust in that corner, and that's a very difficult spot to repair. So if you have the opportunity, pull your fenders off, wash that out, put some fluid film or some sort of like oil rust prevention. I think I had this fender off as well, and there was still some dirt and stuff trapped inside of here. Just over the years driving it, they get full of junk. So that is all done. The only thing I'm left to do is get this thing off, and you see it's all flopping around. So I'm going to end here for tonight because I ran into an issue with these bolts. There's like a captive nut in here, and it's just spinning around on this one. Didn't even try that one, and that side's rustier, so that one's just going to do the same thing. I'll get back with you guys tomorrow, and we'll make some more progress. Alright, here's a little update for you guys. It is now the following day. I've been just kind of chipping away at this thing all day, getting a lot of little stuff done, a couple of bigger things. We got the front core support, header panel, whatever you want to call it, has been removed. It's sitting over here. I cut it into two pieces, removed that angle iron piece, but I ended up having to sawzall through the bolts that were holding the body mounts in, and I ended up finding a little rust hole right here. You can kind of see where I welded a new section of metal in. There was a hole right there. It was real thin, so I got all that welded back up, and we should be good to go right there. This side was perfectly fine. So I took these things were super rusty, especially on the inside. You can see how pitted they are. Right there is where I cut through to get the bolt. I'm just going to leave it like that. It really isn't going to hurt anything. But rust treated them and threw some black paint on them. This one right here, this was the one on the driver's side that got eaten up pretty bad, but it'll still do the job, it'll still work. I've got the rust converter and the black paint on all of them, so they will function. I may end up replacing them if I go to the junkyard and get them. Nobody sells those. Like, even if you buy a new body mount, they just send you the rubber piece. They don't give you these, which is really annoying. And then while I had everything off, I came in here with some rust converter, treated all the little rusty spots that I found. So there was a little bit of stuff up here, and then of course all the rust that was down in this area between the fender and the cab. Cleaned everything up and then hit it with the rust converter and paint, just like I've been doing everything else. Kind of got all this. I eventually will have to come in here and properly repair these rust holes, but for now I'm not going to be doing any body work or paint or anything on this truck this year. That'll be for next year. So I'm just trying to stop it in its tracks so that it doesn't progress any worse by the time I get to it for next year, when I do eventually end up painting this truck, or at least getting the body repair done to paint it. So same thing on this side down here. You can see this is just completely disintegrated up here. And then same deal up here, and then back behind the door hinges, because I have a new door. So this door I picked up at a junkyard, cost me about $30 because I had a sale going on, which is great. The door is completely rust free. The window is good. Everything is pretty much perfect on it. There's like no dents or anything. There's a couple of little scrapes, but this is a huge upgrade from what was on here before. So I got this door on, got everything adjusted. It opens and closes flawlessly. Everything is dialed in. I got all the gaps set. So once the fenders get here, I can get the fenders adjusted properly and get the gap in the front here all positioned. This truck had some aftermarket, like 4.5-inch Sherwin Vegas speakers in it. They actually worked really well still, but they only had 2 screws a piece holding them in, and they weren't like sitting in the little holder correctly. And I found out the reason my window probably had popped off of the bracket partially on this driver's side window was because the window is actually touching the magnet on the back of the speaker. They didn't have enough clearance. It's a very common issue on these trucks. If you install aftermarket speakers, sometimes the window, when you roll it down, will hit the speaker magnet. So I ended up going with these Sony 6x6 speakers I had laying around. I put those in there, just ran some self-tappers through the door, remounted those, so I got a nice upgrade set of speakers, and now my window won't be hitting them anymore. Let's see. Oh, I painted the brake booster, went wire wheeled it, rust converter, once again, paint, got all that done, and then down on the bottom of the frame down there where the proportioning valve goes, I did the same thing just to get everything cleaned up before I go and throw the valve back. That's where we're at for right now. I'm pretty happy with my progress today. It was a lot of just little nitpicky stuff that I just had to kind of get done. I ended up going through the fenders, pulling all of the little clips and stuff out of them, because I'll have to swap these onto the new ones. Little rubber bushings. I've got all the body hardware, the hood hinges and stuff sitting up here as well. So once the new body mounts and the new fenders are here, I can pop those on, and then hopefully by then I'll have these trimmed up and treated and everything and good to go. Be able to stick those onto the body mounts and get this front end kind of put back together, and then I should have at least most of the interior stuff finished up by then as well. So I'm going to end this right here for now. I'll get back with you guys later on in the week, and we'll get some more work done on this thing. Alright, yet another just quick update for you guys. You got all of the wiring pulled through the firewall or unplugged. So this is the factory body plug, and there's just a bolt that holds that in. You undid it and pulled it out, but there's a bunch of stuff on the Megascore harnesses to kind of tie it into it, so I had to go through and unpeel a bunch of wires back and separate everything, but got that out, pulled the Megascore harness out through there. There's a couple wires coming through that grommet for the tachometer and for something else, I can't remember what, and then I had a wire or an oil pressure line actually coming through this. The oxygen sensor was running through that for the wideband. All of that stuff has either been removed from this direction, in the case of the body plug there, or everything has been pulled into the cabin, because that's obviously where it all feeds from. So I've got body harness, or the Megascore harness, and some of like the power harness stuff right there. And then on that side there's the oxygen sensor, and then the little wiring harness for the blower motor resistor, which originally sat on the firewall. Not going to need that anymore, so everything is pulled through. And in here, it's an absolute disaster in there. There's at some point there was some sort of aftermarket alarm system put on the truck, so a bunch of stuff's already cut up underneath. And that's a little update for you. Get back with you guys later. Probably get back with you guys on the weekend. we'll get this dashboard out, start stripping stuff, and then begin reassembling it after that. Also, forgot to mention, I've got the last bit of rusty junk painted. So here is the drive shaft. Same treatment I've been doing to everything else. That is all cleaned up and painted. And then the transmission cross members. So we will no longer have a bunch of rusty crap all over the underside of the truck. I also got the transmission over there all cleaned up. Going to be maybe tomorrow pushing the engine out, degreasing it, and just pressure washing it, getting it real nice and clean. Not going to be painting it or doing anything crazy because this thing's probably going to blow up by the end of the year anyway. But just want to get it cleaned up and, you know, washed off a little bit before throwing it back in. So that will be the end of this clip. I'll get back with you guys later on in the week if I decide to do brake lines potentially during the week. Or I'll get back with you guys on the weekend when I'm tearing the interior apart and doing the brake lines. Alright, yet another couple of days has gone by and I've gotten a little bit more progress made on the truck. So now, officially, the truck has a full functioning set of brakes. So we got all of the new lines ran. I'm really happy with how all of these look. Instead of before, they kind of ran just straight down from here and ran across some of the suspension stuff. Now they run towards the booster around here, and then the front lines, there's a small line here into the T, and then one line that follows basically the path of the factory brake line right there. This will clean things up a lot better. And then this one here just runs this way. That way they aren't running over fender liners and stuff. The way I had them done before was fine when the factory fender liners were here, but with I'm not going to be running a liner at all anymore, but even with like the little tubbed out ones that I made, there was a big chance of the tire potentially throwing something in and hitting the brake line. And now they're pretty much clear of any, they're as clear as they can be of anything coming in and hitting them. And once the engine is in here and like everything's all buttoned up, you'll hardly even be able to see these, which is really cool about these. These are steel lines with some sort of coating on them. You can buy this stuff at AutoZone. I think I've got, yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but it's this weird green color, and you hardly notice it, which is really nice. They just kind of blend in. Brakes are done. Ran all the lines, new lines on the axles as well. New main line all the way back. Everything has been cleaned up. You can see that line there, and you can see some of that one there, and I actually have them clipped into the axle on both sides now. Had an issue last year after lowering the back to the point that it's at right now with the axle hitting the frame, but it was before I had put the extra mainspring in, and it actually flattened one of the brake lines out because I didn't run it through that little clip section, and it was just straight over the top of the axle, and that allowed the frame to come down and hit it when I bottomed out. So now, if the axle and frame do make contact again, which has happened only once since adding the extra spring, there at least it'll just be axle and frame. There won't be a brake line getting crushed in there. So all the lines are done. Everything's bled. I had to replace a wheel cylinder on the left rear because I snapped a bleeder off inside of it. That was kind of a disaster, but I got that taken care of. Yeah, I'm going to get working on this interior, start stripping stuff, and we'll just see how far I can get tonight on this. As you can see, there is an entire pile of interior parts right here. Got another box of random stuff over there. And then inside of the truck, there is basically nothing. No dashboard, no heater box. It's this giant, it comes out as one piece. There's one bolt inside the truck you have to take off, and then there's 3 or 4 on that actually bolt through the firewall, which is kind of weird but kind of cool at the same time. To take that out, everything comes out as one assembly, which I didn't know would work that way, but it was actually pretty cool that it did that. So interior is completely stripped, no dash, no heat or climate control stuff. I took the plastic trim piece that was here out. Headliner is gone, dome light stuff is gone. The sun visors will be going back in. But yeah, everything is 100% out. The wiring harness is really only attached to the stuff on the steering column, the big firewall plug over there, and then a little bit of it is tied into the Mega Squirt at the moment, and that's the only stuff that's wired into this truck at all right now. F-body steering wheel adapters work on the non-airbag Dakotas. I remember reading somewhere that those adapters worked, but I had never actually tried it, and it only works in certain years, and I'm pretty sure it only works on the non-airbag trucks. So if you have an airbag truck, you're going to have to swap the column, I think, if you wanted to do this. But this steering wheel adapter is the one that you can buy at AutoZone. I'm pretty sure it fits like a bunch of Chevys, like, you know, your G bodies, your F bodies, all that stuff, bolted right on. I got this Grant steering wheel bolted on there because it's the only wheel I had laying around. It actually looks pretty good in there. I kind of like it. I need to get something done about this because I'm missing the little centerpiece for it. So that's going to be an interesting project, going through there, ripping all of the junk I don't need out. I need to get the Megascore harness separated from it, and then I'm going to have to go through there and start removing all of the, you know, blower motor stuff and a bunch of the other things that I no longer have, like, you know, the lights and stuff that are no longer going to be inside of the truck. Some of the ECU stuff from outside of there. There is some sort of computer box mounted over there. I have no idea what it does. Going to have to look up the part number on it to figure out what it does, because I don't think it controls anything for like the turn signals and stuff. This stuff is all its own thing. It might have been for cruise control, but I'm not sure. Somebody can maybe let me know what it was for. This was a cruise control truck, so maybe that's what that thing was. But anyway, that is the stripped out truck. I think because this video has ran for multiple weeks at this point, that I'm going to end it here. We've got a completely stripped out truck. All it really needs to be done is just a couple of things put back together. Wiring needs to be gone through. Look how dirty my hands are. That's crazy just from doing interior stuff. That is basically it. Like I said, this video is going to be a disaster. I hope it wasn't boring. This is a lot of really tedious work, but I wanted to document all of it so you guys can see what I'm up to and get a bit more of an in-depth look on everything, as to just saying, hey, it's all done, you know, and having everything stripped out like it is. One other thing I wanted to show you guys, because I thought it was interesting, I know I've mentioned it in videos in the past, here and there, this truck had a alarm system installed in it. I've seen the box and like the relays and stuff up there, but I actually was able to get the box out completely now that the dashboard was out, and there you go. Bulldog Security. There's even a 1-800 number on there. I might have some fun and call them just to see if that's still active. But yeah, this was, you know, back in the 90s, every vehicle had some sort of aftermarket alarm system in it. These things are, you know, dinosaur tech by now. Pretty much every vehicle made after like the year 2000 has a factory alarm system of some sort on it anyway. But I thought that was pretty interesting. Whoever had this truck originally cared enough to put whatever this alarm system is. It was installed terribly, which is pretty common. There was a lot of shops 20, 25 years ago. There were a lot of shops that specialized in doing stuff like this, electronic stuff like that, and a lot of the times they were kind of shoddy. So yeah, I thought that was a little bit interesting. I might just keep that around because it's kind of cool. Not something you see very often anymore. Most of those have been completely ripped out. This one was disabled. There are a lot of all the wires were snipped and relays were pulled out of it, but it was still chilling in there, zip tied to stuff they used. The wiring harness is pretty much destroyed from that thing being installed. But anyway, that's going to be the end of this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I apologize for this video being boring. I'm going to try and make up for it in the next one, because I think next video we're going to be putting the engine and transmission back in. But that's going to be it. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I'll see you guys later.